boys and girls. So as we just mentioned here on the other end of this Zoom call, we have a NAStruck extraordinaire himself, driver, has been in the Nice stable for a little while now. Let's just get right to it. Carson Hocevar, what's going on, man?
Nah, not much. Glad to have me on finally. I've known y'all for a while, and it all started from I don't have a Snapchat handle on my truck or anything, so I at least don't have that. So that's how I originally met y'all. So that's glad to finally be on.
That leads me right into my first question. So obviously Charlie just mentioned NAStruck extraordinaire, been in the Nice stable for a while, had some runner-up finishes, had some races you should have won. It's not really a matter of if at this point. I think it's a matter of when you're going to get that first win. But do you think that you might not have gotten that first win yet because you don't have your Snapchat QR code on your B pillar?
Yeah, definitely. It definitely is worth a few tenths, and I just wasn't able to pick up the pieces to get up to bar.
It's actually worth a provisional when you don't make the
worth.
So that's
I get those regardless. Just look at the dome.
Yeah, there you go. So I mean, obviously we see you on TV quite a bit. We know you from the truck. I'm sure a lot of people know you from that, but obviously that wasn't step number one for you. So, how do you end up with a steering wheel in your hand to start this all off with?
Oh, are you asking like how I originally started racing?
Yeah. How do you get interested in racing to begin with?
I tried every sport in the book. I'm 6'3", but I was pretty tall for my age, and I wasn't very good at a lot of sports. Just was uncoordinated, but liked racing on TV, and like to go into the local go-kart track for 10-15 bucks, and I accidentally walked into and met some people that had quarter midgets. So then found out by accident of quarter midgets, tried that and ran some try rides and then raced a bit. And then long story short, somehow met Brian Clausen, which I got really close to him and his dad, and still talk to his dad, obviously, a good bit. And I wore the BC hats and got to know him a little bit. And then by accident met Johnny Benson as well, and went late model racing with Johnny. And he had a car, and I drove the car for a few times, a few years. He used his hauler. He went and helped and wanted to be a big help, and met he introduced me some good guys, and he really kick-started my whole deal. Johnny gave me all his old partners basically from Michigan, and that's really how I went racing. My parents did pretty well and was very supportive and spent a lot, but Johnny literally called all his companies that he ran Michigan and said, hey, sponsor this kid and I'll do appearances, and he helped out a lot. Then the same guys that he introduced me to run late models with, they wanted to do some Marcus stuff. Got to meet Brandon McReynolds and everything, and I'm doing like a really, really long story in short, but
it's better if you talk more and we don't have to talk at all.
Perfect. I could do that. I could talk my ear off, but no, I just literally feels like I've accidentally met people throughout the way. Same deal how I met Nice. I drove one truck race for Jordan Anderson, and I accidentally met Jordan Anderson just between mutual people from Michigan that I was at the International Speedway. And they're like, hey, go meet Jordan. And Jordan's like, you want to run Eldora? And I sat and I was like, I don't really want to do my debut at Eldora. I probably won't run out all that good. And ran 6th in stage 1. And he leased a portion of Nice's shop. And I was in December, and I was probably going to run a handful of races for Jordan. No big deal, like 4 or 5 races. And literally 2 days before signing the deal with Jordan, had some partners and family to do it. And Nice called, and 2 days before signing it, and offered me a deal that was more doable than Jordan's deal. So I was able to do more races. And then it's just kind of snowballed from there. And Al Nice has lost money to race me, but the last 2 years, but now with WEX sponsoring the 41 and the 42 and myself, we're all going to be able to have the lights on, and I can run without knowing that I got to search for money somewhere.
So being from Michigan, did your start come at Berlin? Is there any other local tracks up there? And did you really have any dirt experience before? I guess just jumping into a truck at Eldora, because we knew you from running late models and stuff. The first time I think I ever saw you really run in person was in Jennerstown. But then it seems like you've kind of just taken on the dirt side of things now. And had you had any experience prior to Eldora there?
No, not really. I wouldn't really call it dirt experience. I ran quarter midgets on dirt a few times, and I mean that's really, I wouldn't call that dirt or anything. And I ran a micro sprint 3 times with Brian Clausen. I tested it once, and I really wasn't good at all. I didn't understand the whole left flick it in and then run sideways at 10, 11 years old. So that's why I didn't really go that direction. I feel like I could take to it as much, and that's not what I was used to. So that's why I figured definitely, like, I'm just gonna waste my time. You only get a debut once. I'm like, well, if I'm gonna go impress anybody, I wouldn't do dirt. And then Johnny talked me into it, said that I'm not gonna be in the top tier car, and everybody's sort of on an equal playing field. So he's the one that really talked me into running Eldora, and I'm more than glad he did, because that's really what I passed Ross in stage 1. And the people, the GM says he was so mad because he knew the truck and how much that time they put into the 45 truck. And they literally were right next to the 3 truck and wrote them off. And all of a sudden we were passing them with some kid they didn't know. So they were upset, and they laugh about it to this day, because the crew chief from Jordan now works at NAStruck. So we always give him a ton of crap that we were literally like 30th on the board, and somehow ran top 5 most of that race.
Seems to be a very fortunate series of events, if you will, that kind of led you into that truck deal there. But describe that relationship that you have with Johnny Benson, because that's a name. That's a pretty cool name too. I know Bobby likes the Johnny Benson from the Supermod and all that stuff.
Big fan of Johnny Benson.
Yeah, I mean it literally was. I got asked by like Jeff Gluck for his athletic, like if I could redo it all, would I hit the reset button knowing what I know now? And I literally was like, no, I wouldn't, because literally everything's happened by accident, of just like somehow meeting this person, somehow knowing this person, and somehow saying the right things to make them like me or make them want to do stuff with me. I mean, it was literally that whole case. And with Johnny, my dad was a small sponsor on a car just to learn the sport, because he knew I wanted to race cars. And we had a little track, Kalamazoo. I grew up at Berlin, but there was a little track called Kalamazoo, and he got approached literally like 2 or 3 days before trying to even look into Kalamazoo. And just to kind of learn, he was like a small sponsor, and the guy had a Johnny Benson race car. So that's how I knew Johnny. So they kept sponsoring just to kind of be in the know, because my dad figured I'd grow up and then go run Kalamazoo local and have a job and do that on the side, no big deal. And I don't think any of us would have thought it's snowballed into what it is. But yeah, that's literally how I met Johnny, and kind of known him from mutuals of the guys we sponsored, just a tiny bit, owning his cars and buying cars from him. And then obviously every dad's gonna say the kid's pretty good and gonna want help from Johnny. And Johnny was like, all right, come test. And me and him clicked it off right away, and I still talk to him a lot, see him around. And he taught me how to stock car race, and now he teaches myself and my dad the business side of it more than anything, when we were starting to get fresh into this NASCAR scene. So he's just been pointing us in directions and pointing me in directions, and now it's just buddy I call up every now and again and we'll go hang out with, or I'll see him randomly at Millbridge, or when I'm running the dirt late model at Charlotte, he'll come by.
So
It's funny. That's a good segue to what I was gonna ask. You talk about racing at Kalamazoo and Berlin. Those are all pavement tracks. I've seen you race late models. That's where we saw you was at Hickory with Pass. Now you're into dirt late models and dirt midgets at the Chili Bowl. Where, at what point do you make the switch, I guess, or decide you want to go that route?
I mean, same sort of deal. It just happens by accident. I don't know how. I I've yet to. I think I've used all my luck at certain areas that's why I don't have any on the racetrack, or I haven't won the lottery yet. But I mean, the dirt midget deal last year, I ran the Chili Bowl the first time, and the deal was done within 2-3 weeks of the Chili Bowl. I was sitting there with Al, and Chevy took us all testing in a micro, and I had videos from it. And Al wanted to see them, and he got all excited and loved it. And he's like, "Yeah, you got a Chili Bowl ride?" And I said, "No, I don't know anybody. I don't have any money to go blow on it." And he literally is like, "All right, go find somebody that will rent you a car. Just send me the invoice." So that's what I did. And um, the dirt late model, Al Neese really wanted to build a World Outlaw sprint car, and no one in the shop wants to let me run a World Outlaw sprint car, and no one in the shop knows how to build an Outlaw sprint car. But a lot know dirt. Cody Summer is our operations manager, and he used to do a lot and oversee Bloomquist's chassis shop. And Cody Efaw, his dream was to go run dirt late models and own a dirt late model and everything. So it's their kind of way of telling Al we could do a dirt late model, and that would be the closest we'll get for a while. And they convinced Al, and they kind of went half all in on building a dirt late model. And they knew Tyler Carpenter from winning the Dome, and Cody Summer promotes the Dome, so that was sort of okay, we'll help Kryptonite out, and Kryptonite give you the race car. So that's how they kind of did that part, and each other helped. And Tyler got to run it once or twice, and but more than anything, they just let me run it. So I was just kind of thrown in. They asked if I wanted to run it, and I wasn't going to say no. And Circle B Diecast saw me at Kansas. I've known them for a while, and I don't have any room for them on the truck, and they wanted to spend money with me. And I saw them at the Chili Bowl last year, and they wanted to get involved. And I kind of really didn't talk to them a whole lot. And they finally went and found me at a truck race in the pit road and said, same sort of deal as Al, just go find a ride, and just let me know what it costs, really. So, and now they're gonna make diecast, which will be really cool and everything. But I just somehow on this dirt stuff, I love it, and I want to do more. I want to do a lot more, but I've kind of just fallen in the right spaces and right time and right people around me that they're just letting me do it. And but I grew up idolizing Brian Clausen. I love Brian, and I told Flo I'm 1/10 the talent of Kyle Larson, but I still want to do the schedule as him.
So one question I have, and only because I've done it a handful of times myself, does that dirt late model have a Burt style transmission, and how bad did that fuck you up the first time you did that?
Well, see, I got lucky. I was really, really bad at the Burt style transmission, but I ran pavement outlaw late models in Michigan, so that I've already gone through that headache and terribleness of it. So now, like, I'm not 12 or 13. Now I know how to run a transmission and shift. So this is plenty easy now. I just got to make sure I just don't burn the clutch out of it. But I'm more struggle right now on the dirt late model of driving it hard enough, rather than I'm struggling on the track rather than off the track right now. So that's where I'm at. But I can get around pit road just fine.
Those that don't know, a Burt style transmission, it quite literally is the exact opposite of any other manual transmission ever.
It's almost terrible. Like
another reason why super modifieds are awesome. No clutches, no transmissions. You don't got to worry about any of that bullshit.
Really?
It takes 40.
I never knew
Click
that.
it into gear and let her fly. It's just like a sprint car.
Except for the fact it takes 45 minutes to get the race started. But anyway,
you guys are just afraid of going fast. Just say that.
Not that. Obviously you're in the NAStruck. That's solid stuff. I think, from our vantage point, getting to, spectate a lot, obviously. It seems as though Ross Chastain might have helped bring that company or that team up into the forefront. Now you are the guy, it seems, for NAStruck. So, going from that smaller type of stuff at Kalamazoo or Berlin or whatever, now transitioning into the NASCAR role, what are some of the bigger differences that you've noticed in terms of how the business is run, and is that kind of a turnoff for you? Because I know that for some people that the business aspect of it is so large that it kind of takes away from the fun of it.
Yeah, I probably haven't dealt with it as good as I have, but I've kind of come to terms with it. It took me a while to realize it's like best way to describe it is you grow up seeing magic tricks, right? But then you finally become old enough and then you see the behind the curtain. And you realize it's not all sunshines and rainbows, and thumbs can't come apart and put back together. So I've come to terms with it, and I don't think I had very well and manage it all and deal with the overwhelmance of it all. And I think it's more of the sponsorship side and the everything of it, and managing the hectic schedules, and dealing with a lot of politics and drama, and they're all this and they're all this, and a lot on the business side of it more than anything. But luckily that part is kind of cleared away, and I could just be a race car driver, and I'm paid to be a race car driver, which is great. But yeah, that part is definitely different. I always hated before coming to North Carolina why they called it organizations or companies, and I was like, they're race teams. Like, why don't you just call it a race team? Like, I hated that, and now I understood why it's called that, and why because it's a company, it's business, and they can't make money off prize money alone, and that's something you realize too very quickly, and that's just kind of a weird dynamic of it. But I'm now in a really, really good spot that I feel, I have a whole truck team built around me, and kind of what I say goes right now on the direction we're going to go, which is really, really nice. I'm not handicapped, and with WEX coming in and a lot of funding from Chevrolet and everybody, they really have now the resources to go fast and do the things. I would ask for adjustments, and if you're a cup team, if you say, oh, the brakes were a little spongy, they're going to buy 7 different kinds of brakes, and you're going to go test it down the parking lot or on the simulator, and they're going to buy everything. They're going to change the whole assembly. They're going to change the fluid. They're going to change everything. Where if I said an adjustment or I needed a different aero package, the only way we'd change the body or update it is if I crashed it. Like, that was the only way we could afford it, because it just wasn't in the budget to go take brand new race trucks or plenty fine enough trucks and go cut them apart, door tops down, and spend 30,000-40,000. Like, it just wasn't possible. Where this off season, they've cut almost every single truck to change them all, because we were so far off KBM's numbers and Toyota's and Ford's numbers. Like, just as a company, we were off on our downforce and side force and everything numbers that it's almost a miracle we ran as good as we had, looking at that as comparison. But I think that shows like how good Phil Gould is and everything. And now being tied in with Trackhouse, we'll have a Trackhouse pit crew, which will be huge. And I've been doing a lot of their cup stuff, so seeing how they just kind of manage everything and think, and just how they even work is just kind of, I feel like I can help them, because I never drove a cup car. I don't have anything compared to, and I just have thoughts, and I have a completely open mind where I can bring back a lot of stuff just on just so much resources they have. I walk in and there's 7 engineers just to watch me go around and drive in virtual circles.
Do you think that KBM switching to Chevy is something that's going to elevate the whole Chevy truck program, or is that something that you think more of the alliance with Trackhouse is a bigger piece of it?
Yeah, I think so. I thought ThorSport went just as fast, if not faster, switching to Toyota, and with Chevy finally getting manufacturers really don't get to share notes, and Ford and Toyota have had teams switch back and forth a lot, so they have the same notes, they have all the same deals, so they almost raced each other with knowing each other's numbers, where Chevy hasn't. It's been GMS and Nice, that's about it. So we're just falling behind the times of it all, and just got really complacent as both a manufacturer and race teams. Like, it was really GMS the only one leading the charge, and they were running pretty good, so they weren't going to reinvent the wheel. So Nice couldn't afford it, so there was really just GMS as the Chevy deal, and Chevy wasn't in a spot where they they have this big headquarters now, but it's brand new. They didn't have enough resources. They didn't have their own facility to go test aero and go find gains themselves as a manufacturer. So there's just super, super far behind that. I think KBM switching over. If KBM did switch over, I think we'd have a really tough time to dominate races again and be there. I would have to work. I already felt like I was working a lot harder behind the wheel compared to everybody else. And, that's probably why I put myself in bad spots. But I think it should be easier, but it should be a lot more easier to handle and a lot less chaotic and able to kind of play chess rather than try and play chess with the grandmaster with you not knowing what even the pawns are called.
Fair enough.
So we obviously just got done watching the Chili Bowl where you went and competed, and I think I heard that you were up in the Rowdies for a little bit, and we saw you making your announcing. Was that your announcing debut? Was there any nerves there? How do you feel like that went for you?
I thought it was. I didn't think I was that bad, and I didn't think I did overly great. But I don't even had a single person. Like, people have brought it up to me, not even me bringing it up. Just people have brought it up to me that they really enjoyed it or laughed at it or did really good. And I even walked into the Chevrolet headquarters and I had like 6 people mention it. I was kind of shocked by that part, but I was pretty nervous. I just didn't want to step on any toes, or I was just kind of in the background. I would just put in my 2 cents, and then I started selling some jokes and telling some stories, and then by then I was laughing and I was just back at normal, and I forgot I had a microphone on. I was having a good time. And once you put a coin in the jukebox, you gotta let the whole song play out, and that's basically what I had.
Well,
What was your reaction when your teammate and our guest of last week's show, Jeff Champagne, called himself a bottom bitch after winning the
we were all laughing our ass off. We were all laughing because we were laughing about like 2 interviews or 1 interview before, just on like how I think it was Dylan Welch, like just how I wouldn't say like uncookie cutter all the Chili Bowl interviews are. Like, they literally, you're not even done landing from your flip and they have a microphone in your car asking you what you saw or what happened or what that idiot do, or so it's really funny to see and really cool. I just think the whole broadcast, all the commentators, like, I love like when they like almost rag on people when they're doing something dumb or doing something wrong. So the drivers definitely fed into it, especially Jeff. I told him he definitely needs a 2-time F champion t-shirt, and I would buy one.
Well, we actually had that same conversation with him. I think he said last week on the show that you had brought up that he should make that into a shirt. And Charlie threw out the idea of the meme of the podium where he's down at the very bottom spraying the champagne. Obviously, the fact that his last name is Champagne makes it a whole lot better. But
that's good.
Yeah, going off of just the announcing thing, Charlie and I announced at a local go-kart track, and I was way more nervous than you sounded up there announcing to the Chili Bowl with hundreds of thousands of people watching. So the 30 people in the stands definitely heard a little bit more of a shaky voice at the local go-kart track.
Yeah, well, see, I forget like how many people watched that main. So it was really cool because I got to go like before my G main and then like after. So like I got like the E's and D's that are super, super serious. And then before, when it was just like the O mains or whatever it was, K mains, that guys are literally just running, D2 midgets that are flipping over each other down the straightaway and struggling. So like, it was really like, oh, he crashed. And then we were just talking and oh, look at this. Oh, we got one upside down type. And then like the D mains, like they had to tell me like to not talk over him so much because I was just getting excited. I was just talking. Like, I didn't know the cues. I didn't know anything. And I thought they weren't saying the right thing, like, because I was like, Corey Day just drove from like last, and I knew I pumped him up pre-race, so I wanted to like take the credit for that. So I was just pointing it out because I figured out that the cameras are like, the guys in the cameras are hooked to the audio, so they'll switch to what you're talking about. So I was trying to like change them, and they had to like mute their mics and just to be like, all right, like we'll kind of cue you in, like you're back her down like a little bit. So, but no, I was having so much fun. Like I would, like I would do that a lot more, especially at Chili Bowl. Like Chili Bowl, I feel like is so different that I got the cream of the crop, and anything else might be a disappointment.
We did see you, or I think maybe but I guess we heard that you were up in the top row, Rowdies. What's the wildest thing that you saw at the Chili Bowl that you're allowed to share?
I mean, there was a lot. Probably not as much this year. I think they were a lot more strict. It was there were a lot of marshmallows, and it was literally they were checking bags as you walked in, so you wouldn't have to see if you had marshmallows. So the big joke was it's the only event in the country where you could sneak beer in a lot easier than you could sneak marshmallows in.
Huh. That's
but, but yeah, like there was a crap ton of marshmallows that you just throw and get hit and hit other people. There were a lot of flags and air horns. I thought the most different thing that I saw that was up there that I didn't see last year was they had airsoft guns, but they had Orbeez in them. So they would just literally just start shooting everybody at random times throughout the race. And I was like, luckily I was like always standing like maybe right next to or like right behind the gun. So like I wouldn't get hit or anything, or at least I was always like friends with the person holding it. But I thought that was like maybe almost like a touch too much.
Yeah, it's
I
always
was like, okay, that's a little much, because it was like you ever seen the TikTok or whatever it was of like no burst in the building or whatever it was. Like that thing was literally gonna shoot like 10 in 1 second.
yeah. It's definitely good to make friends with the guy that's holding the gun.
Yeah, definitely.
That
I could get taken out of context so bad, but yeah.
that's probably just a good rule of thumb anyway. Just no matter what you're doing. But I mean, obviously you've done a lot of cool shit. I mean, you've come up things with the late models and dabbled in the dirt. Obviously, you make a living in NASCAR, so kind of rank these things for us. I mean, you've run the Snowball Derby, you've been in the Chili, or you've ran the Chili Bowl stuff. You've done NASCAR stuff. Kind of where does this all rank for you? Because you have a pretty special opportunity here where you get to kind of put your feet in whatever kind of race car you want.
Yeah, for me, the Chili Bowl is my top. Like I love the Chili Bowl just as a fan, and being able to run that whole event is my favorite. That's about the only race when I grew up. Like, I grew up watching midget stuff. I'd watch Turkey Night, but I'd also mainly watch the Chili Bowl, and especially with it being on speed at times or flow, I would really tune in, because there was really no streaming service back then. So that was mainly the only way I could tune in and watch dirt racing. But then to be able to run NASCAR, that's obviously really high. And I think the dirt late model would be definitely right behind, just as the fact of something I thought I'd never do, and I've got to do it a handful of times, and probably get to do it a handful of times more this year, and hopefully a lot more to come.
Well, we do have some Patreon questions for all of our pals that subscribed over on Patreon. So we'll get into those now, because I'm sure that some of these are the questions that we had to ask you, but we'll let them do it. Alex Krakowski, little different question, I guess. What's the best finish to a race that you've ever witnessed? I don't know, maybe give, I guess, the first one that comes to your mind, whether it's you or just one that you were at watching live.
Well, obviously, winning the F-Main, that's got to be top.
Yeah, that's pretty close. No, honestly, I think it was really cool to see obviously Wednesday night of the Chili Bowl. It's just so recent that I think it saved the whole event. But obviously the whole deal with Ashton falling out of the race car, and this scary sight of that, like so many people left. I was sick to my stomach, and everybody in the stands was, and the rowdy section was the only time it's ever been quiet. Everybody sat down. Everybody didn't agree that, we didn't know anything. So everybody was kind of in disagreement that the race was going to get restarted. And, it was kind of weird and kind of awkward. And we all sat on the ground, and the race wasn't all that great because it was just kind of around the bottom. And obviously people are going to be a lot more timid to go haul ass. And Rico went up and ripped the top like the last 2-3 laps. And all of a sudden everybody kind of stood up and got excited, and, really got pumped up and kind of gave everybody I think we'll be all right. And luckily then we got the news with Ashton, and he ended up being fine. But yeah, that was kind of cool just to see that happen and see it in person. And then yeah, that was the main one I think of right away off the top of my head.
Yeah, it's good. I definitely and heard that Rico went to the hospital, I think, afterwards, which is super cool. So
Yeah.
stand guy for sure. Brian Hahn said, if you could go pro in any sport aside from auto racing, what would it be?
Oh, that's a tough one. Any sport other than auto racing. I'd almost want to say like football, but like I'd never be built for football. I'd get like my legs ripped in half, like
Yeah, hell of a putt.
like no, that I might, but I don't know. That's a tough one, actually. I think it would be really cool to like my initial thought when you said that before motor racing is I really want to be good at like I think rallycross is so cool. Like I think that would be really really cool and like Travis Pastrana and all that. But no, I wish I was good at that stuff or good at like X Games type stuff. But I would never be able to do it.
All right, we'll go with football then. And you'd probably
Yeah,
be
we'll go with that.
You're not dropping off into any half pipes anytime soon or anything?
No, not at all. If anything, it would be like BMX or something, but I would still like I'd break every bone within like the second try.
Tony Palladino had two questions, but someone asked the second one. So we'll just go with the first one, which was one that I had as well. What are the chances of you running the Snowball Derby in 2023?
I'd say 99.9%, especially with the dome being not the same weekend. So I'm pretty sure I'm going to be able to do both, which is really, really cool and really exciting for the fact that it's definitely going to help me break up. It's perfect with the off season between the holidays and, you know, the dome and then the Chili Bowl. It really breaks up the year that the off season really don't feel a whole lot. Plus two, then within the dome flu and the Chili Bowl flu, that's another extra 2 weeks that you're sick and it makes the whole weeks go by fast.
So just going off of that, it sounds like you're planning on running the Chili Bowl as well next year.
Yeah, I plan on running all three. You know, Snowball Derby, I love that event, and then you know, the dome if they let me run again, and I don't see why not, especially with Cody Summer and everybody at Nice going to that event every year, and then hopefully the Chili Bowl.
The Derby, Dome, and Bowl is a pretty sick off season. So
that is awesome. I don't know how I could get any better.
Get a TQ and run Atlantic City while you're at it.
That would be cool. That would be fun. I've never done that or been there or seen a TQ midget ever.
You're gonna need to be about a foot shorter than you are to fit in one, I think.
I was gonna say I think I could like squeeze into a lot of things, so I don't think I could squeeze into a TQ.
Well, we'll at least see at Pensacola and sounds like Tulsa next year as well. So looking forward to that. Tyler Bauer said, why do we bring out intentional cautions? But I've never seen you do that. So we'll just go to the next question.
Definitely not at Hickory.
No.
What?
Sean.
What?
I was gonna say at Hickory that was not my fault. I broke and spun and they let me sit there for 4 laps. So then I was like upset because I thought that was like super weird. I didn't realize the whole like if you spin, you're just supposed to merge if you're like somewhat out of the groove. And I was
all I remember is coming up like behind you and you did like a John Force style fucking burnout down the entire back. It's like, oh,
I was off turn 2, right? So I broke and it's flattened my left rear. So I was halfway spun off 2 and I was literally on the bottom of the racetrack, like still like somewhat out of the groove, but like still on the pavement enough. And like they just let me sit there for 4 laps and I couldn't like reverse. So like I went through the grass and like through the infield and like I just kind of wanted to make a point of like I don't think that's very safe-ish at all. Like I'm like because I was buddies with Matheson and he was like he came up and was like passing a guy and like had to bail out and get back in line from not hitting it.
Yeah. Were you the one that was responsible for Jake hitting the rev chip 4 car lengths before the start finish line, or was that his own fault?
That's definitely his own fault.
I love busting his balls about that. I typically hate the sound of super late models hitting the rev chip. I understand why it's done, and I get it, but we were at that race at Hickory, and I'm working on Derek Nealon's car. I'm underneath the back of it, changing gears or something, and I just hear this motherfucker pop, 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 like 3/4 of the, like not even on the front stretch.
It was the whole straight away.
The whole straightaway. I'm like, Jesus Christ, Jake, either open the chip up or take some gear out of that fucking thing.
Scott Fowler, for some reason, asked, "Do you have a transmission for a 2010 Silverado?" So,
I don't, but if I know anybody, I know the guy that needs one.
He's in our Snapchat group chat, and his truck for sure shit the bed today. So that's he's just putting some field.
if you need any more context, about 20 minutes before we started recording, he sent me a chat that word for word said, "Does anyone have a BFP tattoo yet?" And I said, "No, not to my knowledge." And he said, "Send me a draft and I'll go get it done." So that's gonna
Nice.
happen. Yeah.
It would probably go on his ass too, knowing him. So
Probably. Sean Miner said, "How do I get Neats Motorsports to unblock me on Twitter?"
Oh, I don't know. I mean, our PR lady's pretty ruthless. I wouldn't mess with her. So
Anyone
I
can get it.
I wouldn't mention it. Yeah, literally anybody, especially if you name like Derek, like named anything with Derek Kraus or anything. I know they went on a spree with that one.
Matt Seen said, "How do you handle criticism in your career, like from a certain podcast where spotters stir the shit on a regular basis?"
Oh, I don't mind it. I think it's funny most of the time. I only had a problem. My teammate was trying to egg it on for Twitter likes, and I was like, "All right, buddy, so you calm down." But no, I laughed at it. I have a good time, and honestly, I've gotten so many texts about them that like wondering what their deal is, and it's kind of weird, and it's all buddies of theirs. So I just think that part's funny too.
Yeah, we're big fans of one of the three of the people on that show, and not the biggest fans of the other two. So
Especially the one that's very vocal towards you. We kind of clowned on him on last week's show because he was grandstanding from his couch in, I assume, North Carolina, about how the Chili Bowl needed to be canceled forever until people stopped getting hurt.
Yeah, that's a bit ridiculous. Like,
let's just so Chris Russell asked a question that may not be a little rude, but so let's just go with where do you, okay, let's just how do we reword that?
Hold on,
He just
maybe I can help.
He just straight up asked, "Why can't you close races to win a few?" But I was just going to reword it to, "When do you think you're finally going to close and finally win a race?"
well, between Knoxville blowing knocking an oil belt off, Charlotte, I picked the wrong line, but I picked the line with my teammate as my pusher, and he spun the tires. I figured that was a lock. I thought that was the move rather than the top lane. I figured John Hunter Nemechek literally about crashed me because he's such an aggressive pusher. So I was like, all right, like I figured Ross would be a bit smoother, and kind of blew that one. But after looking at our downforce numbers, it's a no-brainer why I couldn't drive in as hard as Ryan Preece. Yeah, I don't know.
Ryan filled it in very hard.
Yeah. I said it in deeper with a lot less grip and a lot less downforce. So it makes a lot more sense why I never would have made that work. But no, I figure in Vegas will be the tall tale sign. I'll be able to race the truck I've been racing against. So I think that will be the determination of how our season's going to go. If we dominate and run really, really fast, I think it's going to be lights out. If we struggle, I don't know what we're going to do. That's it.
Oh, is that one of those races that Kyle Busch is going to jump into though? You ever I don't know, do you like when he comes out and runs? I know that obviously some guys, like we had Noah on, and he was saying that when he went out there in the duels, he was lined up on the grid, and he kind of like did like a look around. It was just like, these are all my idols. I have their hero cards on my wall back home. Is it cool for you when those guys come down and run with you, or is Kyle the I guess welcome kind of wore off since you ran with him in late models so often?
I mean, the welcomes kind of wore off, but like I just think of all of them as other race car drivers. But like when people notice, and like I passed Kyle last year at Vegas and outran him for a bit, even sideways and out of control, and working a lot harder than him. So now I feel even better. But no, I just think it's more of that's your benchmark. There's no, you either outrun him or you don't. that's your bar. Kyle is your bar. So that's how you know if your program is really, really good or not.
Chris Brown asked, what are the goals for this year in trucks and any chance of maybe making an Xfinity start this year?
Regular season champ and Final Four appearance. That's literally the goals. Like we have a cup caliber pit crew and about 2-3 times the resources and finances that we've ever had, and a lot of really good race trucks, a lot of good people around us. So I don't see why not, and that's what they all expect, and should be in a good spot.
So, yeah, is there more?
No, there's just one more.
Oh, what's the last
one? So the last one, Trevor Ward asked, have you or will you ever considering running the Oxford 250 at Maine's fastest parking lot?
I would. I really want to. I just don't know how. Like I'd have to get or build a specific race car for it. But it's on the list. I really want to run that race, but I'm pretty tied in with Van Doren's, and I just haven't came across a race car to that we could do it, or we're mainly focused on snowball this year. That's our package and everything. So that's the car we're building. But I've told them a lot. We need to build an Oxford 250 car. We were hoping it was going to be part of the national tour and hopefully like help and make it all one and not have to deal with all the rules. But it just, honestly, it sounds like they're just fighting each other between two national tours that are just all the same series with just a little bit more money, but not enough to really make it all the difference with different rules packages and totally just like not talking to each other, not communicating. And then meanwhile there's pass. Like I don't know what changed other than just instead of Southern Super Series, it's all the same series. It's just now just there's like a few more races, and even if you went to all of them, you're just only going to run like people's regular schedules. They only have to go to 3-4 more and they get a little bit more money now. I don't know what changed.
Yeah, it's all forms of short track racing, I think, is fighting each other. It's almost like they enjoy doing that for some reason.
Yeah, but see, the problem is with dirt racing, they all fight each other with 1.5, 2.1.
Oh yeah,
like they're all like fighting each other on like outbidding each other on purse.
Right,
like,
it's just a dick measuring contest.
Yeah, but which is great for the drivers, but in asphalt short track racing, all they're doing is just fighting each other on rules. Like that's all it seems like. Which all it does is cost more money.
Yeah, the one thing that I've always noticed is that anytime a rule comes out, it usually is going to cost me or somebody money. Even though no matter how they try to swing it, it's going to save you money, that doesn't. It's always an extra cost somehow. But.
It's the same. It's the same way in NASCAR. Instead of like I just don't understand where dirt racing comes with all their money. I don't know how these series have $2 million purse funds, and you sign a contract to run the full year, and they give you a deposit, like a loyalty check. And then they'll just I think cut it out if you don't run the full year. Like you break the contract, they just cut it out of your next purses, or you just ask for it back. But that sets you up for your start of the year if you had nothing and you could run and then try and get more or hope you run good. And there's a lot of guys that either make money or they're plenty fine losing money, but they make so much money that they could offset. Davenport, he could have 3 bad years and he still kind of offsets his costs.
Yeah, that's actually that's one of the questions that I had in my notes. I think that was probably the last one that I had was, since you've been dabbling in the dirt world, like what the hell is the difference between the dirt stuff and the asphalt guys, and why is a 10,000 to win super late model race like the biggest and best thing that you're going to see, and then you have a dirt race on a Tuesday somewhere in a cornfield in Iowa, and it's $50,000 to win.
I don't understand. I've been trying to figure that out. I don't and no one knows the answer. Nobody knows. It costs less to do. They're making less money on tires. So the grandstands aren't 100% that full. A lot of the pavement stuff's on flow, so they're not getting a flow check. So I don't understand a whole lot.
The only thing that I can think of, or that I noticed, because I did spend some time out in Ohio in the Midwest area, there's a lot of farming money, which is where you get your whatever the fucking is on Davenport's car. Like a lot of the, you have brands and stuff like that where, I went to college with some kids that, their parents owned a farm and they would come to school every like 6 weeks in a brand new truck because they had to spend that much money or else they're going to get fucked in taxes. It's
Yeah,
like,
I get.
that's
Yeah,
how,
I guess I could for sure believe that. I just think there's just the cool factor. Like there's car owners want to own a World Outlaw sprint car. They want to own a World Outlaw late model. They want to have their brand on a World Outlaw late model. Like that's why you see all these NOS energy drinks everywhere. And like I just think it's just that cool factor of, if you're gonna own a race car, it cost you a good bit to do it. But like once you have it and do all the initial investments, like you could kind of offset your costs a bit and not have to get a $20,000 tire bill every other week. And uh, that would be my only guess. I talked to Mark Martin for a while about it. I don't understand how it spikes so hard, and meanwhile asphalt racing is just plateaued and it's just stayed or dipped. And I just don't know how there's that many people with money that want to promote races, and I know a lot of promoters, and I know they make money on their races. Like they do $175,000 to win races or $50,000 win races for three series, and they still make plenty of money and have in their pocket after everything's paid and all the drivers are paid, and they still walk out, plenty of profit, and they're ready for the next one. Like I've seen it. I know it. Like I just don't understand like and I know asphalt or tracks, like they can't, otherwise they're all playing the poor me card really well, but I just don't know how they could be losing money and about to lose their racetrack. Meanwhile, this one's spending more, getting less at the gate, and still making plenty, and probably doubling their investment or making pretty good that they could live a year off of.
Almost like the asphalt world and the short track, like the people that I know, it's almost like those people like navigate just towards NASCAR, and like World Outlaws late models is the biggest series in dirt, so like they're kind of getting like a bigger piece than the like people like that are interested in asphalt racing just gravitate towards NASCAR, and then they don't go to their local short track. Which, I mean, we can say a lot about the the promotion at the local level, and I feel like there's definitely some ground to be made there, but that's the only thing that I could come up with. But it's still, yeah, it doesn't
I think another example too is like the crazy part is like the Hunt the Front guys. Like they literally have a YouTube channel and they've grown it enough that like their investment on a super late model series, a Southeast super late model series, they could pay 15-20 grand a race. And they're, if you're going to do a 10 race series, like I guarantee they're not going to, like their risk versus reward, I guarantee they're risking the risk is like, we're probably going to make money on this deal, or if anything, worst case scenario, we're going to break even on this, but the promotion's going to set us up for the next year, whatever the case may be. And like they could afford a $200,000-$300,000 points fund or whatever the case may be. Like just guys who ran late models and started a YouTube channel 2-3 years ago can start that series. Meanwhile, Bob Sargent and Ricky Brooks are right now fighting a series that has 100,000 total purse fund, basically. Meanwhile, I think the winner of, there's like 7 events at Eldora alone that pay over 150.
Yeah, it's definitely wild. Is dirt late model racing? I guess you kind of already like touched on it, but is that something that you plan on doing more often throughout this year as time allows?
Yeah, I hope so. I'm going to be really, really busy, but I mean, hopefully, for sure, I want to run like the Dream or something, or for sure a race or two at Eldora now that I got some laps, and feel like I could give it a good shot. Eldora is the king of them all, and but I just want to run as much as possible. I wanted to run Volusia, just I don't think the car is going to be ready in time with parts, and obviously, trying to run a NASCAR team. And the operations manager is the only employee basically, and crew guy on the dirt late model. He's a bit busy this time of year. And then he gets less busy once things are moving. He's just more checking up on things rather than organizing it all and setting it all up.
Well, I think that we should probably wrap this up. I was under the impression that Bobby might be on the way to passing away, but I think his internet broke out and he's now
I don't know. Can you still hear me, or is it just my camera?
Yeah, we can hear you, but you look like you might be zooted.
Yeah, it's black on my screen and Carson is upside down on my screen now. All of a sudden, I don't know what the hell's going on.
Perfect. That's Time Warner for you. But one question I do have for you. I mean, you obviously seem locked in on the truck this year. You have goals of being in the Final Four, which obviously that's probably everybody's goal going into the season, right? But what are we looking at like 3, 5, 10 years down the line here? Are we trying to get up into the Xfinity Series? Do you want to race on Sundays eventually? What's the goal? Or do you just want to, go back to dirt and fucking kick them in the dick in the World of Outlaws?
I don't know. Yeah, I just want to run anything I can. I want to run 200 races a year more than anything. I want to do that Kyle Larson schedule, run every dirt car in the sun, run cup, run trucks, and winning a pole at Richmond, flying into Knoxville Nationals, running the Knoxville Nationals, and then flying back to run the cup race on Sunday. It's about the coolest weekend there is. But no, I'm just taking it one step at a time, and hopefully, I can move up and run on Saturday and then run on Sunday. But regardless, I know I'm gonna run trucks for a long, long time for Al Nice, one race or 23. I think we're good enough friends, and he's far enough into his retirement, as he says, but he ain't retired no more than I'll be 85 and he'll still would outwork me. No matter how old he is, he's gonna be working the last day. So it's crazy, but no, I think we're in a good spot, and hopefully I'm running on Sunday, if that ever comes.
It sounds like, so if you want to do the Kyle Larson schedule, it sounds like you're going to be running an Indy 500 at some point too.
That would be cool. I would talk to Ferrucci a lot, and I was always worried about like my legs being too long. Like I would just always see the pictures or my legs getting ripped off, and I just hated that thought. And he told me, he's like, "Oh, those don't happen anymore. Like that's we fixed that a few years ago." I'm like, "Oh, okay, good. Only a few years ago. Good. I'll let you develop it a few more times before I go do that." But no, we're comparing. It was me, Briscoe, and Ferrucci sitting there at the Chili Bowl, and we're all comparing what it feels like to crash in each other's car. The next gen car, the Indy car, and my truck. And it's funny. He was like, "Oh, I just had my leg brace wrong." And he's like, "Oh, I just broke my leg when I hit the wall." I'm like, "Okay, you're really helping me out here on wanting to do an IndyCar race." But I wouldn't. Briscoe said he'd never want to do the 500, even from his Indiana. Even though he's from Indiana, he would do some road course stuff for the same reason. He just doesn't want to crash at 230. But I think it'd be something that I know I wouldn't win or run really good at all. And I think Kyle's, he's so good. And you say it, and like if anybody's gonna go run good, it would be him. But I just think it's so different that I just would want to be a part of the race and be a part of the intros and make the race more than anything, and just run all 200 and just be happy to be there and happy to have my name and have a cool story in the suit to hang up, and just ultimately that's all it eventually is, just cool stories. So I just want to add that one to the list.
So we've had names like Kyle Larson, Kyle Busch come up. You've obviously raced with them in other forms of motorsports, but what is it? I mean, you've obviously gotten to dabble in different kinds of race cars and race against a lot of different people, but people like Kyle Larson, Kyle Busch, what is it that makes them just so fucking good?
I mean, they could just do anything with anything. Like they could just do everything and anything. Like they can go fast, and there's like Kyle Larson's so good because he could be totally out of control. Meanwhile, if you asked him, he felt like he was plenty in control. That's just normal to him. And then Kyle is just so Busch is just so good at literally finding the grip and just being so methodical. Like he's just so smart in every avenue of a race car, and during a race, like you could just see, he puts himself always in good spots. He never's in a bad spot, and just always somehow finds a way to haul ass. And if he's not hauling ass, he finds a way to just outsmart people and get 2 or 3 more spots.
I got one last thing for you, Carson. Any tips to get around Berlin? I'm going to bring my super modified out there this summer.
I mean, more than anything, it's just a big circle. So just literally, just if you're like 25 degrees to the left going around there, you're going plenty fast enough. Like that's it. Like once you have your momentum going, you really shouldn't have to move the wheel at all. Maybe just a little bit, 3 and 4. But I don't even know how hard I don't even know if the super mods would be able to like how they would handle crossing over the transition of the apron off 4. But I think for sure, like you'd be just fine if you're just 25 degrees to the left and just running the whole circle.
So that's kind of similar to all the local tracks here in Maine. For some reason, straightaways are a myth in Maine. My buddy Mike Ordway, we've had him on the show. He set the track record last year and won. Probably should have won both nights, and he won at least one Saturday night. He said he was the only one driving like above the transition. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
All right. Well, between you and him, I'll try not to suck.
Well, this has been good. I'm glad we had John. Went a lot smoother than I thought it was going to. But no, it sounds like these guys are going to see you down in Daytona. I'll try to see you at some point throughout the year. Good luck. Don't suck, and keep that truck pointing in the right direction, I guess.
All right. Well, thanks, Charlie. Thanks, Brad. Thanks, Black Screen.
I'll be sure to bring you a Snapchat QR code with your Snapchat on there to Daytona, so you can park that thing in Victory Lane.
I'll snap.
I was
you.
just saying, I'm gonna definitely need that.
I'll snap here in a bit.
All right, thanks,
All
man.
right. Thanks, guys.